everyone, welcome back to the Roundup. Today's first story. Kojima has done a bit of a funny thing in that he's basically tweeted out against how Sony are marketing his own game. Which, you know what, is rather funny, and it does just tell us a few little things. So, your overall context here, of course, is Death Stranding was a big game in Sony, and now they are doing the Death Stranding Director's Cut. Just that basically makes absolutely no sense. In the same way that doing a director's cut for Ghost of Tsushima doesn't really make much sense in the actual usage of the word director's cut. Because when you say director's cut, what do you make people think of? Well, you make people think of the Blade Runner director's cut, where of course the studio basically dicked around with and ruined the first version of Blade Runner that came out, and then the director's cut was a far better movie. It's one of the things that's led to people kind of revering director's cut. And I guess most recently we've had that happen with the Snyder cut and all of that stuff. So that's how Sony have decided to market this version of Death Stranding. And Kojima's pretty much just tweeted saying, a director's cut in a movie is an additional edit to a shortened version that was either released reluctantly because the director did not have the right to edit it, or because running time had to be shortened. In a game, it is not what was cut, but what was additionally produced that was included. Director's Plus? So in my opinion, I don't like to call director's cut. And you know what, I know you can see this as just like, petty little semantic games, but for the way that Kojima means it there, I think he's 100% spot on. And I think really the reason why Sony are doing this is because, this is what you'd more call a kind of, like an enhanced Game of the Year edition. Or, something along those lines, where, there's a few updates and a new bit of DLC included, right? But they use the word director's cut, I think because Sony, overall, for a part of their, big game strategy, has been channeling a little bit of, an auteur vibe, sort of a blockbuster vibe, or rather filmic vibe, and I think that's why Sony chose to do it that way. I mean, director's cut, we all have very premium and artistic connotations to that language. So there you go. Kojima doesn't happen to like it though, but it is what is happening to Kojima's product. Now, if you were wondering, by the way, what's going on there, well, there's new combat mechanics in the game. Melee attacks being upgraded. There's a new mazer gun that people can get. You can also find mounted machine guns. There's a firing range as well, where you can practice things. And the game has also added new support tools designed to aid players during delivery sections, including a cargo catapult that lets people fire cargo long distances, a support skeleton, a buddy bot that can carry you when you're tired, and a portable jump ramp that can be placed down to let you dive over large gaps. Which actually does seem quite fun. Seems like an upgrade to the experience, which would be good for me because I've not played the game. So, a good jumping in point. Kojima doesn't really like the naming that much.
I can't blame him, basically, based on that logic of director's cut. But, I mean, who's going to really care about what director's cut means except Kojima, who's obviously, a big cinephile? He's going to love all that stuff. The idea of calling it a director's plus, although the old auto translate on Twitter got him real bad there, Delector's plus, but the director's plus is really that's what it is, because this is, looking at this, it is a Game of the Year edition. Maybe not so much because they usually mean the game plus all the DLC.
Yeah, this is more like Witcher. Does Witcher 2 have the enhanced edition?
Yeah.
That basically was it was still Witcher 2, but they improved a whole bunch.
Yeah, so this is very much more Death Stranding 1.1 or 1.2 or 1.3 or something, or an enhanced edition. But obviously, Sony are just like, movies, prestige, let's go, we need it. But I think it is smart that they've managed to combine a couple things with this, where no one else is calling their game a director's cut, so it's unique. Where you hear game director's cut, you're like, oh, that's a very Sony branding. So they're replacing the PlayStation hits, or what they used to call their platinum games, their PlayStation Platinum games, which were their massive sellers. So they've managed to combine that with the idea of a Game of the Year. And I think that's actually really, really smart for marketing, even though obviously, cinephiles will go, yeah, this is so cringe. But at the same time, players, you go into the shop and you see, director's cut. Oh, you know what? I didn't play the original. This one seems better. Let's go.
Yeah, I think it's just funny seeing somebody play semantics with their own publisher. But it's Kojima, so it all works. He's carved out enough of a personal identity that he can get away with that sort of thing. All right, on to the next story, I think. Then staying in Japan for our next one. Quick enough story, but it's an update to something that was actually pretty big. So Game Pass had a version of Nier Automata that had a bunch of upgrades and improvements, which led to the Steam version getting review bombed because the Steam version did not get those updates. Well, the good news is that as of July 15th, Nier is going to be getting its long-promised Steam upgrade patch, which is going to involve 4K textures, more stable frame rate, some other graphics tweaks. So overall, it's basically just good news for the people who wanted their Steam copy of Nier to be good. Anything else really here, or is that us?
There's only a couple little things, which is like this launched in such an abhorrent state on PC. Not like as bad as like Horizon Zero Dawn, where it was non-functional, but just they had like the fact that they overlooked the global illumination stuff, like config, and then the game was unplayable for people until someone came in, I can't remember their name now, but came in with fixed automata resolution of the FAR mod and just solved the game on PC. So it is great on PC, but it's, wasn't stellar. It's just, I think if nothing else, it shows how touch and go some Japanese publisher and developers still are with PC. Even though they're getting there, it's like the publishing side of things kind of wrecks them because the Game Pass version's better. This one wasn't. But then also, neither Automata nor Replicant have a PS5 version yet, so it could be a decent chance that this is literally them going, oh yeah, we've got a PS5 like updates, like you see like the 60 frame per second cutscenes, fidelity, like FX stuff been added, as well as HDR. You're like, oh, just lead up for PS5 stuff, which it took them long enough. It took them from April till now to actually get this going because they promised it back then, but sounded like
fair enough. Thumbs up.
Yep, go play it. It's a great game.
And then actually staying in Japan again, we all remember PT. Right? We thought this collaboration between Hideo Kojima, Guillermo del Toro. I mean, come on, you want a horror game? That's going to be some pretty damn good time. People essentially thought Silent Hill, or PT, what is this? Well, it's a teaser for Silent Hills. Then, of course, Konami falls out with Kojima. That whole project falls through. There's not Silent Hills content. Most of what we hear about, about with Konami ends up being pachinko machines, and the publisher generally isn't that well regarded. But they have announced a partnership with Bloober Team. So, interesting enough. Now, Bloober Team have developed a number of horror games, stuff like The Medium. They're not super well renowned. I think they just sort of generally make pretty good stuff. That's essentially it. And for the statements, they've basically said that this is Konami and Bloober Team signing a strategic cooperation agreement that will include jointly developing selected contents and exchanging know-how. There's some of the statements saying it's been the culmination of a few years of work, that they're looking forward to, getting the respective strengths of Bloober Team, and basically all of that stuff. Now, there's a bunch of people who have seen this and thought, oh shit, Silent Hills, let's go, it's back. They finally remember that people liked PT. But, you know what? Probably not, because as our update here says, Bloober Team have actually played down those Silent Hills rumors. I mean, that said, they maybe would do that anyway, even if they were doing Silent Hills. But also, it's not the Kojima Del Toro collab that people were really excited about. It still is Konami and it's Bloober Team, so it's an entirely different bunch. So if you were really in there for the Silent Hills, be happy that I assume some new horror game material will come out of this, but maybe don't have that full hype train going. What do you think? Definitely keep all of your expectations as low as possible, because Konami have not done anything good in so long. I don't even think they have the resources to do anything good, because what was the Metal Gear Survive? It was one of the last games that was released with their name on it, I believe, and that was an absolute trash can fire of a video game, for sure. Then Skull Attack, which was an indie they published with, they didn't develop it; it was literally just published, and that wasn't even super stellar in any capacity. They went hyper traditional marketing, putting it in specific content creators and stuff, and it was all kind of weird. But then it also came out at a price point that was way too high for what that indie usually is. So I feel like this is Konami kind of panicking after COVID, going, oh shit, how do we, every casino's closed, what do we do? All our pachinko stuff's dying, how do we go back? Oh, what about the gaming IP? What about all of that?
but I think they're like really, really wrecked on resources.
I didn't even think about how the pachinko market in Japan would factor it, because it's quite large for Konami.
It's why they left games was basically because that other stuff was doing so much better for them and was so much easier. So they moved to that entirely, like pivoted. That's why we've not seen anything from them in a long time. And now it seems like they're beginning a pivot back, sort of, but it's not going very well overall.
I do remember Japan's really big. There's a lot of people in Japan, so yeah, no shit, they can make a lot of money.
Yeah,
from the pachinko market.
A lot easier money than having to make good video games.
Yeah, and like it's pachinko, so it's their local market where they have like local expertise. They know it.
Yeah.
And games have been floundering, so yeah, wow.
That's why I think the Bloober team stuff's kind of interesting, because they are going, we don't know anything about horror games anymore. Who does, outside of, because no one in Japan does, seemingly, outside of like the whatever game the Sony Japan X people are going to move onto now. But it's like they just went to, it almost feels like they asked someone in the industry, has anyone made a game like Silent Hill recently? And then someone went, the medium was kind of psychological horror, and they went, get us in touch with that person, please. Or that, those people.
I think they realized Capcom's success with Resi.
Almost certainly. They, like, I imagine that's exactly what executives did. They went, horror game big? We horror game? Just, yes, sir, we have Silent Hill. Will we still own that property? They're like, did we not cancel that with Kojima? Ah, shit. Anyway, sort it out.
100%.
And they're doing their best.
What happened. Well, yeah, I get that vibe. So, you know what? Hopefully this does lead to good stuff. The wait and see. Don't hold out too much hope, perhaps.
Zero hope. It's all bad.
So, thank you for watching. Let us know what you think about today's stories, and we'll see you next time. Bazinga.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.